Wow, so the Eagles just made another insane move in the late stages of the offseason, as with training camp coming to an end, it became clear that the Eagles could use help at one specific position on the offense, and Howie Roseman delivered, as he made a shocking trade to get a former first-round pick with a ton of potential, and it might just end up being the perfect move to fix their problem, and to cap off an offseason where the Eagles have clearly built themselves a contender. So let's break down why this was a great trade. Also, many of Jalen Hurts' teammates expect him to have a huge season, while it seems like defensive tackle Jordan Davis could be on the verge of a breakout year. So let's talk about that and all the other latest Eagles news. And we won't waste any time, let's get straight into it. So first off, going back to yesterday and the Eagles' final practice at training camp, obviously the big story that everyone was talking about was Darius Slay's interception at Jalen Hurts, which ended the QB's historic training camp streak for thrown passes without an interception at camp at 305. And while I obviously talked a bunch about this yesterday, I bring it up today because since I dropped my video yesterday, the Eagles have dropped the video of Slay actually getting the interception, and it was cool to see, and also an impressive play from Slay to read what Hurts wanted to do and then bait him into the throw. But I think what was better than seeing this was seeing what Slay had to say about Hurts after practice, as the star cornerback seems to believe that QB1 is primed for a fantastic season.
I mean, if I got one guy to pick, man, I just want, for us to get to where we need to go, I need Hurts to have the biggest season ever. So, he just steered the team. Of course, it takes all of us, but we know that quarterback position is very important to win games.
What do you see from him in this camp that makes you believe that could happen?
Just because he's been the consistency, the way he's been playing, the way he's preparing, the way that him and AJ and all the guys communicating, trying to get on time. And, you know what I'm saying? I just seen a different version of him this year, and I'm hoping for it turns over to the field.
So first off, it's awesome to just hear Slay express confidence in Jalen like that. And also, I mean, you heard what he said there. It seems like Jalen is a new version of himself this year, and Slay isn't the only one to make similar comments about Hurts this offseason, as multiple other offensive players have said similar things. And add running back Kenneth Gainwell to that list, as not only did he say that Hurts seems to be more locked in this year, but he also sees differences in him from a leadership perspective.
And I just feel like he's more locked in. He doing everything he had to do, the small details. That's what he's been doing. So that's what he's showing that. And basically, he just more of a leader, man. You can tell the more vocalness and him being there, like saying more things. And he doing exactly what he needs to be doing.
So that's definitely really nice to hear, especially after all the crazy claims this offseason regarding Hurts and his leadership. And regardless of whether some of those reports are true or not, or if there was any valid concern, Hurts seems to have just taken it upon himself anyway to work on being more vocal, and his teammates have clearly noticed that and see it as a positive. So that, on top of the fact that Hurts had an awesome camp and all of his teammates seem to be excited about his play and development on the field, is leading me to believe that Hurts is ready to just have a monster year, while also being an even better leader for this Eagles team than he already was. Now, somebody on the other side of the ball that seems to be stepping up as a leader more is defensive tackle Jordan Davis, as in the absence to the recently retired Fletcher Cox, it seems like Davis has taken it upon himself to try and fill that leadership void and is now the most prominent voice in the Eagles D-tackle group, with Davis fellow Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter saying this about him.
I feel like JD, he just got that good energy. He's a good guy to listen to on and off the field with advice and stuff like that. And JD's been most of the guy talking, and when we go break it down before we get to Andy, he's the one saying the word.
So from that, it certainly sounds like JD is the guy who has been stepping up the most in Fletch's absence as a vocal leader, and not only does this make a ton of sense as Davis has been a leader for a national championship winning defense in the past, but it's also just awesome to see JD really starting to take that responsibility of not just holding himself accountable, but also his teammates as well, and that's only going to make the defensive tackle group even better. But what's even more awesome is that it seems like Jordan Davis could be on the verge of a breakout season himself, as he's had a really good camp where he's made plays both against the run and also rushing the passer, and he also seems to be in much better shape and conditioned better than he has been in the past, and overall, he just seems hungry to come out and have a great year so he can finally live up to those expectations of being a first-round pick back in 2022. And defensive line coach Clint Hurtt seems to believe in Davis, as he had this to say about him this past week.
I mean, the kid wants it, and a lot of time with young people, you got to be patient. They don't always understand it right away. And I always use learning BG's story when I got here. He struggled early on in his career, and then you figure things out, and the next thing you know, that you become beloved in the city. And the kid has a lot. He does have pride in himself. He does want to be great. He wants it. He does. And he's made that commitment to himself, and now it's about the consistency every single day. And he's done that. So really, really proud of where he's going, but we got a long way to go. So let's just keep challenging him to do that every day.
So it certainly sounds like Davis has the right mindset, as from everything Hurtt said there, along with everything Davis himself has said this offseason, it just really does sound like he's hungry and he's committed himself to become becoming a great player, and we all know how much the Eagles defense is going to be relying on him not just this year, but also moving forward, as Davis is somebody who the Eagles hope can become a franchise cornerstone for them. So if he's able to make that jump that we've all been waiting for him to make this year, that's just perfect, and it'll only make the defense just so much better. But now somebody else who, like Davis, is definitely hungry is the rookie Cooper DeJean, but it's for a bit of a different reason, as Coop obviously just got back out on the practice field after missing most of training camp with an injury, so he's just trying to get back into the swing of things the best he can right now. And DeJean also hasn't even played in a live game since November at Iowa, so I'm sure he's just itching to get out there and hit somebody. And on Wednesday, DeJean pretty much confirmed that he's going to get that opportunity in the Birds' last preseason game on Saturday.
What's the plan for you on Saturday's game? Are you going to play Saturday?
I believe so, yeah.
How much are you looking forward to that after watching the other two games?
I'm excited. I mean, I haven't got to hit anybody since like November of last year, you know, so I'm excited to get back out there and start hitting people that aren't our own team.
I mean, I personally cannot wait to watch DeJean make his debut, and I'm going to be covering that as well as the Eagles roster cuts coming up next week, and also, of course, everything from the upcoming season. So make sure you guys subscribe, and also really, really importantly, turn on notifications so you're notified instantly when one of these videos is uploaded. I think that's a win for the both of us, because not only do I get more people consistently watching these videos, but you don't miss any other Eagles coverage or content just like this. So again, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and also drop a like. Let's see if we can hit 1,000 likes on today's video. Now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. Now, another rookie who I'm looking forward to watching on Saturday, like DeJean, is running back Will Shipley, because through 2 games of the preseason, Shipley has been pretty impressive and has probably been one of the team's better players. And Shipley hasn't just been nice in the preseason games, as he's also made plays throughout camp as well. And based on what we've seen and heard about him so far this summer, I'm starting to think that the Eagles have found a solid player in him, and if for whatever reason he has to play significant snaps this season, then I'm confident in his ability to be effective. But we also can't forget about the Eagles' other backup running back in Kenneth Gainwell, as obviously all the Saquon Barkley hype, as well as what Shipley has been doing during the preseason and training camp, has taken a lot of the attention pretty much fully off Gainwell. But Kenny has actually had a really, really good camp, and while Saquon is still obviously the clear-cut #1 back for this team, Gainwell still saw a fair amount of first-team reps during camp, and he also made his fair share of plays. For example, catching a 30-ish yard touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts on a wheel route in the Birds' open practice back on August 1st, and also having a huge practice in the last practice of camp, catching 2 touchdowns while also getting 14 total touches with Saquon not doing team drills. And after practice on Wednesday, Jalen Hurts praised Kenny, as he said that he's grown a lot and gotten better in his time with the Eagles.
He's been growing. You know, it's been kind of surreal just thinking back and saying, man, Kenny's on his 4th year, you know, and he came in and you kind of get to see someone grow into where they are, and he's a hell of a player. He's really epitome of a team-first guy, embracing his role and attacking that with all of his might, and I'm excited to see what type of year he has.
So again, safe to say that Kenny has got better and he's had a good camp, and there's no doubt in my mind that we'll see him from time to time at the running back position during games this year. And if Barkley goes out for whatever reason at some point this season and we have to rely on Gainwell and Shipley for a week or 2, I honestly don't feel too bad about it. But what do you guys think? Obviously Saquon's the #1 guy, but how do you feel about the depth we have at running back with Gainwell and Shipley? Now, one position that the Eagles had questionable depth at all training camp was wide receiver, as behind A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, it was really just a bunch of unknown options and guys that haven't really proved it in this league at the wide receiver position yet. And while a lot of them have very unique skill sets and intriguing abilities, there really just wasn't that one guy that the Eagles seemed to feel really comfortable with to be their 3rd wide receiver this season. And it's caused a lot of speculation over these past few weeks that the Birds could potentially try to make a move or a trade to acquire a new wide receiver to fill that void. And an article from Tim McManus only added fuel to the rumor mill, as in the article he said, quote, "Signs are pointing to this being a group effort with Wilson, Covey, and others on the depth chart getting snaps depending on a given matchup. The wild card is whether general manager Howie Roseman pulls off a trade to bolster the position. Given the expectations for this season and the lack of clear answers behind Brown and Smith, it seems likely the Eagles will look to add before week 1 against the Green Bay Packers in Brazil." And McManus turned out to be right here, as Howie Roseman and the Eagles just went out and swung a trade for a new wide receiver 3, and I gotta say, I just don't know how Howie Roseman continues to get away with this, because the guy somehow managed to trade for a former first-round pick from just 2 years ago from a Division division rival of all teams, and that guy is former Penn State wideout Jahan Dotson. Now, the full details of the trade were released by the Eagles themselves, reading, quote, "We have agreed to terms on a trade with the Washington Commanders for wide receiver Jahan Dotson and a 5th-round pick in the 2025 draft in exchange for a 3rd-round pick and 2 7th-round picks from the 2025 draft." So, you heard it there. In addition to Dotson, the Eagles also got a 5th-round pick in next year's draft while giving up a 3rd-round pick and 2 7ths. And I gotta say, I think this is going to be completely worth it because Dotson is a guy who has a ton of ability and has flashed his potential in the league before, as he's had some great highlights of him catching deep touchdown passes or pulling in contested catches, and he's recorded over 500 yards in each of his first 2 seasons while also pulling in a total of 11 touchdowns. And his rookie year specifically was especially promising as he put up over 500 yards and 7 touchdowns in just 12 games, and you can clearly see that Dotson has all the potential to become a very good wide receiver in the NFL. Now, that being said though, there was obviously a reason that Dotson was available to be traded, as he has struggled at consistency with times in his career, pulling in just 58.3% of his total targets through his first 2 years and having issues with drops at times, and it all culminated this summer as, entering camp, you would have probably expected Dotson to be the clear-cut number 2 receiver on the Washington Commanders, but instead, head coach Dan Quinn said that Dotson was among several players battling for the wide receiver 2 position, along with guys like rookie Luke McCaffrey and former Eagle Olamide Zaccheaus, and with Dotson not standing out and with all the struggles that he's had in the past, it seems like the Commanders just felt it would be best to move on early and get what they could for him. However, as I said before, Dotson has a ton of ability and has shown that in the league so far, and a change of scenery might just be exactly what he needs to get his career back on track. Now, obviously, the Eagles have a ton of offensive weapons and a lot of mouths to feed, and Dotson's going to be at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to getting touches, but things could also work in his favor that way because defenses really are not going to be focused on stopping him, as they have guys like A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Saquon Barkley, among others, to worry about. So Dotson is going to have opportunities, and all he's going to have to do is take advantage of them. And I'm personally confident that he's going to do that because, again, as much as Dotson has had his struggles before, there's also a ton of evidence to suggest that he could turn things around and become a really, really good receiver. And you can see it if you watch him play. Like, Dotson is a threat to make big plays at any given moment, and as he comes in a limited role with the Philadelphia Eagles, that's perfect because he'll be able to make a big impact at any given time in a very limited role. So at the very best, Dotson is able to put his struggles behind him and develop into a very good receiver, and at the very worst, he's still a really good option at wide receiver 3 and someone who I think the Eagles probably trust more than anyone else they got at that spot. So overall, I think this is a fantastic move with very high upside, and it's just perfect in the sense that it filled a huge need. But that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about this trade to get Jahan Dotson, and how confident are you in him as the wide receiver 3? You can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And also, while you're at it, make sure you subscribe to the Philly Fan 21 YouTube channel so you don't miss any other Eagles coverage or content coming in the future. And again, hitting that notification bell is super, super important so you're notified instantly when any videos like this are uploaded, so make sure you go do that. And also drop a like on this video to show some support if you did enjoy it. It really does help me out a ton. Let's see if we can hit 1,000 likes on today's video. And also, if you want to watch another video recapping the Eagles' last practice of training camp, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.